Hi everyone, it's me. Number 10. Ascension Day. In the past, the way we lived was very different from today. We had no electricity, no running water, and many things were a lot more difficult to do. Even something as simple as cooking a meal took a lot of time and effort. But despite all these difficulties, the ancient people found time to engage in rituals and ceremonies that were an important part of their culture. Some of these rituals are still practiced today. Number 9. Bloodletting. Bloodletting was the practice of withdrawing blood from the body for therapeutic purposes. It was used to treat a variety of illnesses and was popular for centuries. The ancient Egyptians were some of the first to use bloodletting. They believed that by removing the bad blood they could cure diseases such as malaria and even prevent aging. During the Middle Ages, bloodletting was widely practiced by both doctors and barbers. They believed that it could help cure everything from acne to epilepsy. In fact, bloodletting was used to treat just about every ailment imaginable. The practice continued into the 20th century, but it eventually fell out of favor when it was found to be ineffective and even dangerous. Today, bloodletting is only used in very rare cases, such as when a person has a blood clot or is suffering from a rare medical condition. However, it is still practiced in some parts of the world. For example, in China and India, bloodletting is used as a form of traditional medicine. Proponents of this practice believe that it can help improve a person's overall health and well-being. Number 8. Throwing salt over your shoulder. This is one of those old-school rituals that most of us still practice without even realizing it. Have you ever been in a situation where you accidentally spill salt? So, you probably quickly threw some salt over your shoulder to avoid bad luck? You may not know that this tradition dates back to the Roman Empire. The Romans believed that salt was sacred and that spilling it was an insult to the gods. To appease the gods and avoid bad luck, they would throw salt over their left shoulder. The left shoulder was considered to be unlucky because it was the shoulder that was closest to the devil. By throwing salt over their left shoulder, the Romans were essentially saying, "I'm sorry I spilled the salt, but I don't want the devil to take advantage of my mistake." Today, we still practice this tradition, although most of us don't really know why we do it. Some people say they do it out of habit, while others say they do it for good luck. Whatever the reason, this is one ancient ritual that has stood the test of time. Number 7. Walking under a ladder. If you're like me, you've probably been told your whole life that you shouldn't walk under a ladder. After all, it's bad luck. But why is it bad luck? Well, it all has to do with the way people used to build ladders. Back in the day, ladders were made out of wood and were very heavy. Because of this, it was very difficult to move them around once they were set up. So instead of taking them down, people would simply build another ladder against the wall and then walk underneath the first ladder to get to the other side. This created a triangle shape, which was considered to be a symbol of the Holy Trinity by Christians. For this reason, walking underneath a ladder was seen as a very disrespectful thing to do, and those who did it risked incurring the wrath of God. These days, ladders are made out of metal and are much lighter, so we don't have to worry about walking underneath them. But the tradition has stuck around. So next time you need to lean a ladder against a wall, be careful not to walk underneath it. You never know what kind of bad luck you might attract. No. 6. Knocking on wood. Have you ever heard someone say, "Don't tempt fate"? Usually this is said right after someone mentions something good that's going to happen to them. For example, "I just got accepted to my dream school. Isn't that great?" Yeah, don't tempt fate. But why are they saying that? What's the harm in tempting fate? Well, let me tell you a little story. Long ago, there was a man who was having a very bad day. First, he got robbed, then his house burned down, and finally his wife left him. He was feeling pretty down about himself, so he decided to go see a psychic. The psychic told him that tomorrow would be his lucky day, and that all of his problems would be solved. So the man went home and waited for his luck to change. The next day, he got a call from his wife saying that she wanted to get back together. He got a job offer from his dream company, and he even won $1,000,000 in the lottery. Of course, he was thrilled. His luck had definitely changed. But he couldn't help but wonder how the psychic knew that his luck would change the very next day. The psychic had simply read his palm lines and told him that his fate would change based on these lines. When he told her that this wasn't possible, she replied, "Oh, I'm sorry. But you must have tempted fate by asking me to predict your future. So basically, if you ask for good luck to happen, You're tempting fate and messing with the balance of the universe. And the only way to avoid this is to knock on wood. So next time someone tells you something good is going to happen, be sure to say, "Don't tempt fate," and knock on some wood. Number 5. Carrying a rabbit's foot. Some people carry a rabbit's foot for good luck. The idea is that carrying a rabbit's foot will bring them good luck and help them avoid bad luck. There are a few theories as to why rabbits were chosen as the animal whose feet are supposed to bring good luck. One theory is that rabbits are associated with fertility and the moon. Rabbits reproduce quickly and often, and they're also active during the full moon. For these reasons, they were seen as being connected to the moon and its cycles. Another theory is that rabbits were chosen because they're associated with spring and new beginnings. Spring is a time of rebirth and new life, and rabbits are often seen as symbols of this. Finally, rabbits were also seen as being magical creatures. This is because they were often associated with witches and witchcraft. In folklore, witches were said to be able to turn themselves into rabbits, and they were also said to be able to speak the language of animals. Because of this, it was believed that they could communicate with rabbits and learn their secrets. So if you want to have good luck, you may want to consider carrying a rabbit's foot. Just be sure to choose one that's from a healthy, happy rabbit. No, don't for opening an umbrella indoors. Many people believe that opening an umbrella indoors brings bad luck. Now, where did this superstition come from? Well, one theory is that umbrellas were originally designed to ward off evil spirits. Because of this, opening an umbrella indoors was seen as inviting evil spirits into the home. Another theory is that umbrellas were originally associated with death. Umbrellas were often used as a symbol of mourning in many cultures. This is because they were used to shield the dead person's body from the elements. A third theory is that umbrellas were simply too expensive for most people to own. Because of this, opening an umbrella indoors was seen as a waste of money. It was only the rich and powerful who could afford to have umbrellas. They weren't going to open them up inside and waste their fortune. Whatever the reason, this superstition has been around for centuries. And even today, many people avoid opening an umbrella indoors. Now, I'm not superstitious, but I'll admit that it gives me the creeps when I see an umbrella open up inside. All I can think about is all those evil spirits flying around. No. 3. Passing salt and pepper together. It's customary to pass salt and pepper together at the table, but why do we do that? Well, it has to do with the way that salt and pepper were once obtained. Salt and pepper were very expensive and hard to come by, so it was a luxury to have them at the table. Only the richest people could afford salt and pepper, and they would often hire servants to fetch it for them. The servants would carry the salt and pepper in small containers, and they would always pass them together. This was because the containers were so small that they couldn't be passed one at a time. So the servants would simply hold both of them in one hand and pass them together. Eventually, this custom made its way to the upper classes, and it became customary for everyone to pass salt and pepper together. Even today, we continue to pass salt and pepper together, even though there's nothing special about passing them together. It's simply a tradition that has stood the test of time. No. 2. Breaking a mirror. The idea that breaking a mirror brings 7 years of bad luck is a relatively new one. In fact, it's only been around since the Victorian era. But where did this superstition come from? Well, one theory is that it has to do with the price of mirrors. Mirrors were very expensive to have made, and they were often seen as symbols of wealth and power. If someone broke a mirror, it was seen as a waste of money and resources. Because of this, it was believed that they would suffer bad luck for 7 years, which was the amount of time it would take for them to earn enough money to buy a new mirror. Another theory is that it has to do with the belief that mirrors can reflect the soul. In some cultures, the soul is seen as being able to leave the body and enter the mirror. If someone broke a mirror, it was believed that they could trap their soul in the mirror and prevent it from returning to their body. This would obviously cause a lot of bad luck. Now, I'm not superstitious, but I'll admit that I'm a little bit nervous about breaking mirrors. Maybe it's just because I've heard this superstition so many times, but I can't help but feel like something bad is going to happen to me. No. 1. Seeing a black cat cross your path. Now, this is probably the most famous superstition of all. The idea that seeing a black cat cross your path brings bad luck is one that has been around for centuries. In fact, it's believed to have originated in ancient Egypt. Egyptians believed that cats were magical creatures who could ward off evil spirits. This is probably because cats are very independent and mysterious creatures. They seem to have a mind of their own, and they're not afraid to show it. Because of this, they were seen as being powerful and otherworldly. However, if a black cat crossed your path, it was seen as a bad omen. This is because black was associated with death and evil. So if a black cat crossed your path, it was believed that you were being followed by an evil spirit. This superstition eventually made its way to Europe, and it became very popular during the Middle Ages. During this time period, black cats were often seen as witches in disguise. This is because they were able to move freely, and they were often nocturnal, just like witches. As a result, if you saw a black cat cross your path, you might have accused them of being a witch and killed them. Fortunately, this persecution of black cats has ended. However, the superstition that they bring bad luck has survived. In fact, in some countries, black cats are still seen as good luck. So if you see a black cat cross your path, don't be afraid. It might be bringing you good luck. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos like these.